Welcome. My name is Susan Rose, and I am president of the League of Women Voters of Elmhurst, and I'm happy to welcome all of you to this event. The League of Women Voters of Elmhurst has two primary purposes. We do lots of things, but one of our primary purposes is to educate voters and to educate them about issues and candidates in elections. We have a long history of doing candidate forums here in Elmhurst, and we are very happy to be part of a group that really educates voters about the candidates. Our other purpose is to register as many eligible voters as we can so that we have an electorate that is educated and able to vote. In that vein, I want to advise those of you, if you are interested but not yet registered to vote, we do have a table out in the foyer, and you can register to vote there, and I encourage you to do that. Third thing I'd like to mention to you is that after today's forum, in the future, and Myra Guzman will tell me exactly how long, I believe within a week to 10 days, the candidates guide will be up on our website, so that while the candidates will be presenting today the questions, they had an opportunity to answer those in fuller detail, and you can find those on our website at www.lwvelmhurst.org, and I encourage you to visit that website frequently. I want to also thank, first of all of the people who make this possible. In particular, I'd like to thank all of the members of the League of Women Voters of Elmhurst who are here assisting in this. I'd like to thank our moderators. Jean Davick will be moderating, I will be moderating, and Lori Miller will be moderating the mayoral and school district candidate forum. In particular, I'd like to single out Sue Whitworth, who is the chair of this particular endeavor, who spends lots and lots of hours to make this a success. I want to assure you that all candidates who are running for elected office in this municipal election were invited to participate. And all of those who responded to us by the callback date will be participating in today's forum. Those candidates who are running unopposed, who responded, will have time for a brief statement of approximately 1 minute as they're running unopposed, which is the guidelines for the League of Women Voters of the U.S. So, in that vein, I'm sorry, let me mention one other thing. The candidates have all been provided with the questions, and there will be some questions taken from the floor. After each one of the League of Women Voters questions are asked, there will be folks collecting those questions, and they will be responding to those. We won't be able to take every single question, but we'll take as many as we possibly can. So, to start off, I would first like to introduce the candidate for Elmhurst City Clerk, Ms. Patty Spencer, who will give her 1-minute statement.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Patty Spencer, and I'd like to thank the League for hosting this event. I am seeking re-election to the office of City Clerk in the April consolidated election. I have served as clerk since 2005. As clerk, I take the minutes of all the meetings of the City Council, serve as the local election official, and Open Meetings Act officer. I am the custodian of the city seal and its documents. Some of the many services the clerk's office provides are issuing licenses and permits, handling voter registration, responding to Freedom of Information requests, and administering to senior transportation programs. I ask the citizens of Elmhurst for your vote, and I promise to continue to serve with integrity, leadership, and commitment. Thank you.
Thank you, Patty. And now we will proceed with the candidate forum. The first group of candidates will be the Park District Board, followed by the forum for aldermanic candidates in the city, followed by the candidates for mayor, and we will end with candidates for the school board district. So I would like to introduce Jean Davick, who will be moderating this section of the candidate forum.
The Elmhurst Park District is a separate governing unit which levies its own tax to provide park facilities and recreation for residents of the district. Innovative leadership starts with our community-elected 7-member Board of Commissioners. Members of the Board of Commissioners are elected to 6-year terms and serve without compensation. So with that brief introduction, I would now call on Doug Ennis to make his opening statement. The opening statements will be 2 minutes.
Thank you. Good afternoon, and my name is Doug Ennis, and first I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters, the City of Elmhurst, and residents for allowing us and giving us this ability to come in and speak with you today. My family has a long history in Chicago, dating back to 1894. My aunt and great-aunt and uncle live in Elmhurst, have raised 7 children in Elmhurst, and I remember as a child coming to visit Elmhurst to see them and learn about that. But as a kid, you remember those things that the kids do. You remember the parks. I don't really remember the city that much. But years later, I found myself looking for a home. And when I did that, Elmhurst became that. I'm now a father, I'm happily married, have 2 children, and we very much enjoy our schools, our city, and our parks. My commitment and interest in serving on the Park Board of Commissioners is based off of my desire to apply my experiences as being an athlete, volunteer coach and referee, technologist, and also my experiences and outdoor experiences from my time in Colorado. I feel that this blend of experience will bring a fresh set of ideas and a different perspective to the Park District Board. I'd like to thank you for your time today. I look forward to speaking with you in the coming weeks as I walk the neighborhoods of Elmhurst. I look forward to earning your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. The second candidate to give an opening statement is Vince Spaeth.
Thank you very much. My name is Vince Spaeth. I'm running for re-election as the Elmhurst Park Board of Commissioners. I'm very appreciative of the League's sponsorship of today's forum and to everyone who has taken the time to participate. I'd like to keep things simple since I'm an incumbent. What have I done to help the Park District? I'd like to believe I've helped bring expertise and a perspective that's a little different. My executive management experience and chemical engineering degree provide additional balance to the board. We have a very, very diverse board of people. I think that's important. We feed off each other, we grow ideas, and together we always come out with something that's a little bit better because of that diversity. As an executive in the business world, I bring new ways to evaluate and challenge situations and projects. As an engineer, I have insight into environmental, mechanical impacts for many of our projects that we work on. As a long-term resident of Elmhurst, I know the facilities well, and I understand the community and interests better. I'd like to help challenge tax increases to those that are truly needed. Being a long-term resident of Elmhurst since 1963, I understand the community's needs, and I fight to minimize those increases and not just accept what is available on the docket. Intergovernment cooperation is extremely important, and you expect that as residents. I am very proud and fought very hard to establish the Elmhurst Park District, City, and School District 205 Committee, in which we proactively communicate the needs of the groups and look for synergies and savings for the residents. We've been working on things like stormwater and TIFs. What will I do to continue to fight for? Upgrade and keep our parks going, develop additional revenues that can maintain and keep things functioning without additional tax increases, and increase the availability of our facilities to everybody. We're looking at new potential facilities in the central and south end of Elmhurst, and I look forward to all of that. So my name is Vince Spaeth. I ask for your support and your vote on April 9th. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Pardon me, thank you. Our third opening statement will come from Patricia Morissette-Mall.
Good afternoon. I moved to Elmhurst in 1968 with my parents, Fred and Lynn Morissette, my grandmother, and 4 brothers in tow. My parents bought one of the original farmhouses on Ridgeland Avenue. I had the privilege of growing up in an extended family with 3 sets of aunts and uncles living within 7 blocks of our home. We grew up knowing we needed to behave as many eyes were watching. I attended Mary Queen of Heaven and graduated from York in 1979, received my degree in teaching from Illinois State University and my master's from Fairfield University in Connecticut. Returning to Elmhurst to begin our family 25 years ago was planned by design, not by luck. Chris and I wanted our family to reap the benefits of Elmhurst's culturally rich community. I chose to run for the Elmhurst Park District 18 years ago when our Park District was making a very important decision regarding the service provider for our families with special needs children. Children with special needs have always held a special place in my heart, as my youngest brother was born with Down syndrome. As a commissioner and a teacher, I continue to advocate for our children and families. In the past 6 years, during my third term, the Elmhurst Park District was awarded $375,000 of State of Illinois legislative grants from our legislators. We were awarded a $400,000 OSLAD grant and implemented the first phase of Wilder Park. We also received $1.8 million park grant from the Illinois Department of Natural Resources to fund the renovation of Wilder Park Conservatory and greenhouses. During these fiscally challenging times, we continue as a park district to form relationships with the community organizations as well as intergovernmental agreements to make the best of all our resources and positive energy to support one another. After all, that's what Elmhurst is all about. I believe that I have the experience, passion, and tools to bring to the table during these challenging times. We must continue to make conservative decisions as we plan for our future and our children's future. It would be my sincere privilege to serve one more term on the Elmhurst Park District team that continues to enrich the lives of our youth as well as the young at heart.
Thank you. Thank you. Now we will proceed to the questions. These are the questions that were formulated by league members. Each question will be asked and each candidate will respond to the question before we go on to the next question. So the first question is, what ideas do you have to increase Park District revenues? And Mr. Spaeth, we will begin with you.
Hey, thank you very much. That's a great question because as residents, you expect us to do everything we can to find other ways to make our Park District work besides increasing taxes. So I've got a couple of ideas. Sugar Creek and Quartz Plus are two big revenue generators. They're not always completely utilized 100% of the time. Through new IT developments and so forth, we can make sure that we're maximizing the use of those facilities, and we're also marketing those facilities to possible borderline community users so that we can get more impact and more revenue. Again, more revenue reduces the tax need on you.
Thank you. Mrs. Morissette-Mall, would you answer the same question? What ideas do you have to increase Park District revenues?
Since I've been on the board, we've been successful in receiving millions of dollars in grants and donations. We are partners with many of the businesses in Elmhurst, and due to their sponsorships of programs, we are able to leverage our resources for programs and services. Additionally, we are partners with the People for Elmhurst Parks Foundation. PEP covers various costs for our park district, such as redecorating Wilder Mansion, which has been a very successful enterprise. The Illinois Department of Natural Resource grants has brought in millions of dollars, and EPD's latest IDNR grant consists of $1.85 million and is facilitating the restoration of the conservatory and greenhouse. I will continue to support the use and partnership of grants, foundations, as well as the support of private businesses during these fiscally challenging times.
Thank you very much. Mr. Ennis, what ideas do you have to increase Park District revenues?
I think this is a key critical component is that we've got to not be a tax burden on the taxpayers of Elmhurst. Quartz Plus, there are a lot of new things that we can come up with and work on in Quartz Plus. I think one of the big things that I've seen in my time as a coach is that a lot of teams in lacrosse and soccer are leaving Elmhurst to play their winter sports in other facilities around Elmhurst. So it's time for us to look at bringing a facility here in Elmhurst, keep that revenue with those organizations here in Elmhurst, and expand that growth part. Thank you.
Thank you. Our second question, how will you try to increase access to Park District programs? Patricia, would you begin, please?
I'd be happy to. Our Park District has an excellent record for providing access to all our community members. Our policy ensures that whoever needs assistance receives it. We've allocated over $15,000 annually through the People for Elmhurst Parks Foundation, as well as corporate donations, to make sure that no child is excluded from programming opportunities. We will continue to seek assistance from outside sources so we may continue to assist others who are struggling financially.
Thank you very much. Mr. Ennis, Doug, will you try to, how will you try to increase access to Park District programs?
Yeah, thank you very much. So I think One of the big things that I see is that the Park District has the opportunity to utilize technology in this space to bring more residents to the programs. Things around Skype, things of that nature can be utilized, e-learning facilities to make sure that people of all ages and socioeconomical backgrounds have the ability to get to the different events that the Park District has from that side of it.
Thank you very much. Vince, how would you answer the question? How will you try to increase access to Park District programs?
I think the park does a great job at doing this already, but things can always be enhanced. A couple of the ways we can enhance: the seniors and the teens are often missed out a little bit relative to the other sections of the communities. Now that we've revitalized Wilder Park and moved the administration part out, those buildings and facilities are available possibly for teens, possibly for seniors' use, to increase their access to facilities and programming as they see fit. Also, other facilities like Wilder Mansion, while we're doing phenomenal with revenue and weddings and so forth, many times during the week it's left unused. Using IT and the use of that, we need to program and reach out to other entities within the community to let them know that these facilities are available and possibly at a discount for those off hours. Thank you.
Thank you. We're now ready for the third question. The third question is, what is your priority in the Park District's capital plan? Doug, would you begin, please?
Sure, absolutely. I believe the Park District's done an incredible job with Barron's Park. And I think one of my top priorities, or focused on top priorities, is to create a southern anchor in Elmhurst. Butterfield Park is on the capital plan, and I believe that that's a great opportunity for the Park District to create that same anchor that Barron's has become for the north part of Elmhurst to the southern part of Elmhurst. There's lots of new activities and new types of things that we can put into Butterfield to create that anchor in the southern part.
Thank you very much. Vince, what is your priority in the Park District's capital plan?
I too have thoughts and dreams of a South Central facility like Barron's Park. And again, when appropriate green space and funds are available, that's top on our strategic plan. Also, I'd like to see our kids have more availability to basketball and baseball. Many times I'm driving my kids to Villa Park or up to Bensonville because we don't have enough facilities here in Elmhurst for the exploding demand. So again, when funds and monies are available, that would be great.
Thank you very much. And Pat, what is your priority in the Park District's capital plan?
One of my priorities for the Elmhurst Park District's capital plan is ensuring that our current infrastructure remains in prime condition. We also want to make sure that our capital plans are created and formalized. We solicit citizen feedback to guide us. As we speak, Elmhurst Park District is restoring the historic Wilder Conservatory to ensure its longevity so that future generations will have the ability to appreciate and utilize it well beyond any of our lifetimes. It is my personal goal as a commissioner to preserve and enhance all our buildings so they may continue to serve generations of future Elmhurst residents.
Thank you very much. Our next question, how will technology play a role in the future of the Park District? Vince, would you go first on that, please?
We're already capitalizing a lot on this topic already, but I think in terms of security and safety for the future, we're all more concerned about that every day. Using online security access to our facilities, online cameras, things of that nature. A lot of things can be done very inexpensively so we can ensure we're protecting your children as they're participating in Park District facilities.
Thank you very much. Pat, will you go next, please? How will technology play a role in the future of the Park District?
We have a 5-year technology plan which helps to ensure that we have the technological tools that today's businesses require to operate successfully. We would like to employ a voice-over IP phone system that would save the taxpayer over $25,000 a year in phone costs. It's simply another way to leverage our resources.
Thank you very much. Doug, what is your answer to that question about technology playing a role in the future of the Park District?
Yes, thank you. My background and training is in technology, and I believe technology is going to play a key role in the future of the Park District. Technology will change the way we exercise at Court Plus, the way we register for Park District classes and lessons, track scores for sporting events, schedule field time, manage the park facility, and even the way tasks are performed in the boardroom.
Thank you very much. Our final question, our final lead question, what growth do you see for the Park District in the next 5 to 10 years? Pat, can we begin with you?
Be happy to. Programs continue to increase, just as Commissioner Spaeth mentioned, in order in attendance, as well as the need for financial assistance with that increase in attendance. So Elmhurst has Elmhurst has the largest population of senior citizens in DuPage County. So we must continue to provide services which are fiscally conservative for all those people that are on a fixed income. One possibility might be collaborating with Elmhurst Healthcare. We will continue to partner with our schools to provide meaningful before and after school programs to help families fill in the gaps. Another area for growth includes fitness opportunities for our community. Fitness opportunities for our residents is very important, and Courts Plus will continue to assist our residents in achieving their health goals.
Thank you very much. Doug, the next question is for you. What growth do you see for the, pardon me, same question. You're the next person to answer that question. What growth do you see for the Park District in the next 5 to 10 years?
Absolutely. Thank you. So I think it's imperative that the Park District continue to grow and meet the needs and requirements of the residents of Elmhurst. Growth can occur in many different ways, including activities, offerings, sports, and programs. As I mentioned before, I see that, adding a southern anchor like to Butterfield Park will work out great. A place to raise money and for that growth is to look at our friends in Naperville that have Nike Park. They've looked for a sponsor to help defray the cost of building that and giving that growth and those activities for our children. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We are now going to proceed to an audience question. I beg your pardon. Vince, I'm so sorry. I'm glad you corrected me. Okay. What growth do you see for the Park District in the next 5 to 10 years?
Thank you. Our demographics are changing. Our whole community is changing. We need to keep a very strong focus on that. Our seniors and our teens are a growing part of what we serve, as I mentioned before. The use of mini parks is becoming a big trend out in the industry and for the various park districts. People want to go short distances to enjoy incrementally better things than they might have in their backyard. So mini parks are huge right now. Also, working with nearby communities, I think we have an opportunity to leverage with, again, the Villa Parks, the Oak Parks, and so forth on land opportunities that are nearby because we're kind of landlocked here in Elmhurst. So let's see what we can do with our neighbors to increase the possibility of new facilities and sharing the cost of those new facilities. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the second candidate forum that we have this afternoon, which is for the aldermanic candidates. Before I get started, I want to correct my previous mistake, and I actually want to thank the student volunteers who are here from our local high school who will be collecting questions from the audience. And to give you an opportunity, if you have a question that you would like us to ask the candidates after the prepared questions, please, they'll be walking along, please just ask for a green card, write your question and give it back to them. If we have a lot of questions, we'll have to sort through and try to find common ones that we think are of the greatest interest. We hope we can get to all of them, but we may not be able to do that. Today's aldermanic forum, we have some small change in this. I want to let you know that we have representatives from wards 1, 4, 5, and 7, all of which are contested elections. One of the changes, however, we have is that one of those candidates from Ward 7 is not here. As a result of that, based on league rules, Patrick Wagner will only be allowed to make a 2-minute statement and will not be allowed to answer the rest of the questions as a result of that. The league rules are that we only allow candidates in contested elections where they are both present to answer those questions, so he will not be able to do that. Again, I want to reiterate that all candidates were invited to this forum. Those who responded by the dates are that we set are the ones who are participating in this forum. How we will conduct this part of the forum is all candidates will be allowed to make a brief opening statement in the order in which they are seated. That will be Marty Deuter, Mike Baker, Chris Healy, then Kevin York, then Robert Kolb, Mary Nick Foster, and then Patrick Wagner will make his 2-minute, he can make a 2-minute statement in the beginning. We will then proceed to the questions, and we'll reverse the order. And then Mike will be first, and we'll go around that way. So, are you all ready to begin? Let me ask Marty Dorder to please make her opening statement.
Good afternoon. Thanks to all of you for giving up some time today, and a special thanks to the League of Women Voters. I want to start this afternoon with a bit about who I am and what's important to me. I moved to Chicago almost 20 years ago to attend the University of Chicago, and in 1998 I received a master's degree from U of C's School of Social Service Administration. I moved to Elmhurst from Chicago after I married my husband Dave, who was already settled here in Elmhurst with his 3 kids. We have since added 2 children to the family and now have 2 kids at York, 1 at Sandburg, and the 2 youngest will be at Hawthorne in a couple of years. Professionally, I have 8 years of municipal government experience. Before moving to Elmhurst, I was an assistant commissioner of a City of Chicago department that utilized $500 million annually to assist residents and strengthen neighborhoods. My job was to analyze and evaluate legislative and policy issues and make recommendation for action. I also worked successfully on policy and program development with a variety of stakeholders. I am now fortunate to spend every day in Elmhurst and am constantly reminded of the community assets in the First Ward, which include the library, outstanding Park District facilities, Elmhurst College, half of City Center, 4 schools, 2 museums, and more. Strengthening and promoting these assets, using them to enhance our ward's sense of community and vibrancy, and ensuring safety as people walk and bike between them are among my priorities. If elected, there are 3 characteristics that will be pervasive during my tenure: open, two-way communication, respectful debate, and well-informed, fiscally responsible decisions. I know that to do the job well takes time. My current schedule is flexible, and I have time available to invest in doing the job right. It would be my honor to represent the residents of the First Ward.
Thank you. Our next candidate, I failed to mention Marty Dorder is a candidate for Alderman 1 for the First Ward. Our next candidate, Mike Baker, is a candidate for Ward 4.
Thank you. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for putting this forum together today, and I thank you for the opportunity to speak with you as well. I am Mike Baker, and I'm running for Alderman of the 4th Ward. My wife and I moved to Elmhurst 25 years ago, and we have 2 boys, David and Brian, who have attended Edison, Sandburg, and York High School. My wife is the director of Treetown Nursery School, which is located in our ward. The quality of housing, downtown, and schools are what led us to Elmhurst years ago, and it will be these same attributes, among others, that will maintain the quality of living here and bring people and business to Elmhurst in the future. Currently, there are several critical issues that face our ward and Elmhurst. I have decided to run for alderman to tackle these issues on behalf of the people in our ward. Infrastructure improvements, public safety, and promoting local businesses are primary focuses of my campaign. I will make sure the issues of stormwater abatement and pressing for improvements in our electrical services stay on the front burner. Advocating bringing business to our Elmhurst area will help minimize tax increases to our residents. Elmhurst Hospital is in the process of going through a transition, and I'll need to communicate to our residents how that will affect them. Our current city council has 3 members running for mayor, and whoever wins that election will need to unite the council to move forward. I have appreciated the conversations that I've had with 2 city managers, current and previous aldermen, and especially the residents I'm talking to as I go and walk through the ward. I will be hardworking and prepared and responsive. Our residents deserve that. I will serve those I represent and those I interact with. I'm not afraid to make decisions when critical issues need to be acted upon. As alderman, I will contribute to make Elmhurst a stronger community for our citizens, future families, and businesses. I'm ready to serve and will dedicate myself to making a difference.
Thank you, Mike. Now we'll hear from Chris Healy, the incumbent candidate for the Alderman of the 5th Ward.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Chris Healy, and I am running for re-election as one of your aldermen from the 5th Ward. I have served as alderman since 2009. Prior to that, I served for 4 years on the Elmhurst Park Board. I am grateful for the opportunity to have served as your alderman, and I'm asking for the opportunity to serve for 4 more years. My wife Kirsten and I have called Elmhurst home for 15 years. We have 2 daughters, one a freshman at York, the other a 7th grader at Bryan Middle School, and love living here for all the reasons that people choose to make Elmhurst their home. I am serving because I want to make an impact and make Elmhurst as good a place to live and raise a family as possible. The job of alderman is sometimes very difficult, no more so than after the floods of 2010. Having to watch and help friends and neighbors clean up after such dramatic flooding was very difficult. Having to sit on the stage at Bryan Middle School for 3 hours listening to the stories of friends and neighbors affected by the flood was gut-wrenching. But as we move through the process of working to improve our ability to handle the next big storm, knowing that we are helping those same people is very satisfying. The job of alderman is also very gratifying. When I ran 4 years ago, I made the eyesores of the former Brown's Chicken and TCBY sites on York and South Streets a priority. Today, both are torn down at no expense to the city. One is green space and one has a new neighborhood-appropriate professional office being built. Knowing that my efforts, with help from city staff and the property owners themselves, led to the demolition of those eyesores makes the job fun. I have worked hard as your alderman and am asking for the opportunity to serve for 4 more years. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. And now we'll hear from Kevin York, who is the incumbent candidate for alderman in the 4th Ward.
Thank you. I'm Kevin York, and I'm running for re-election in the 4th Ward. I am honored and grateful to have served as your alderman since 2009, and I'm seeking your support and your vote to serve 4 more years. Reflecting back on my opening statement 4 years ago, I said, out of challenges come opportunities. But there were challenges that weren't anticipated. Most notable, the flood of 2010. Riding my bike around the ward, talking with and helping residents dealing with floodwaters, then at Bryan Middle School, listening to the stories, the pleas for help, the frustrations, a truly heartbreaking experience. We've taken steps to study, analyze, implement, and plan for future improvements, giving me the gratification of helping those who suffered. In 2009, due to the economic problems of the early 2000s, the fiscal state of Elmhurst had become quite tenuous. Revenues were decreasing along with the required cash reserves to sustain the city during these rainy periods. Relying on my accounting education and my business experiences, it became my mission to help restore Elmhurst to solid financial footing, blending recommendations from the Financial Task Force with my increasing knowledge of the city's finances. Every recommendation and decision I made was based on the objective of increasing fund balance, maintaining city services while seeking cost savings, and making necessary investments and resources needed to take advantage of the new economy that has arisen from the Great Recession. As a result, the general fund balance has increased from a projected $3.8 million to nearly $12 million now. My wife, Jill, my 3 kids, and I are proud to call Elmhurst home for the past 10 years, and there's no better place to raise a family than right here. I'm proud and honored to have had a hand in Elmhurst leadership for the past 4 years, and I'm humbly asking for your vote to continue my service and hard work to the 4th Ward residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. And now we'll hear from Robert Kolb, who is candidate for alderman in the 5th Ward.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. My name is Robert Kevin Kolb, more commonly known as Bob. I'm a candidate for alderman for the 5th Ward. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters, the press, but most of all the residents and concerned citizens that have taken their time to show up today to learn the candidates and learn the facts. Thank you for this opportunity to present myself, my ideas, and my hopes for the city. I want your vote and I want your input. My campaign slogan is "A penny for your thoughts," an offer I extend to all residents. I believe a city should be governed by addressing the concerns of the citizens, and communication and understanding are really the building blocks to a higher quality of life and better government. I have a long history in Chicagoland. My great-grandfather, Otto F. Amling, started Amling's Flowerland, a long-time business here in Elmhurst. I've lived here 2.5 decades. Through that time, I've seen a lot of good improvements, and I've seen some questionable decisions. Through thinking outside of the box with my residency, qualifications and also by the functionality of looking at ideas in a fresh view. I believe there's a complacency in City Council that needs to be changed. I invite you to review my pamphlet downstairs that says, "Hi, I'm Bob," to get to know me better. I'm the new kid on the block, and I ask for your vote on April 9th. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bob. And now we'll hear from Mary Nick Foster, who is candidate for Alderman in the 1st Ward.
Thank you. I'm Mary Nick Foster, and I'm a 20-year Elmhurst resident who lives at the corner of Grace and Alexander. I live at Grace and Alexander with my husband, Steve, who is a special ed teacher, and my 3 children, Nicole, who's away at college, Grace, who's at IC, and Alexander, who's a sophomore at York. Steve and I somehow had the foresight to name our children Grace and Alexander long before we moved in to the corner of Grace and Alexander. In addition to being a full-time mom, I am an attorney, a former litigator with the Illinois Attorney General's Office, and currently I am the Executive Director of the Cook County Department of Human Rights, Ethics, and Women's Issues. I run a very diverse and important department for the 2nd largest county government in the United States. My position requires me to make difficult decisions on a very daily basis and to take a very strong stand against powerful interests and powerful people. I have significant administrative experience, including government budgeting and the pairing of government budgets. I am also proud to have served as the chairperson on the State of Illinois Executive Ethics Commission. My experience has placed me at the cutting edge of government ethics. This will enable me to be a gatekeeper for the residents of the 1st Ward on 3 very important issues: open, accessible, and accountable city government. I will bring a new voice and a new perspective to the City Council. I will be a strong, thoughtful, and positive leader for the residents of the 1st Ward. Why am I running? It's simple. Elmhurst is a great place to live, work, and raise children. I want to preserve what is great about Elmhurst and move our city forward. I have the skills, qualifications for this position, and I would appreciate your vote on April 9th. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Nick. And now we will hear a 2-minute statement from Patrick Wagner, who is the incumbent candidate for Alderman from the 7th Ward.
Thank you, Susan. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Patrick Wagner. I'm running for re-election in the 7th Ward, which is the south part of Elmhurst, and I'd like to thank the League for this opportunity to address the residents through this forum. I commend the League of Women Voters for leading the charge and allowing candidates this opportunity to participate and get their messages delivered. I will continue to encourage new business growth. I will continue to encourage new development that makes sense to Elmhurst and our residents. I will continue to support programs that help our senior citizens community and continue to work together with all other taxing bodies in Elmhurst to do what is right for Elmhurst. 7 years ago, Elmhurst experienced one of the greatest recessions we'll ever know. I ran 4 years ago to help Elmhurst and the council look for new ways to provide revenue to the city to the city to maintain Elmhurst services and quality of life. Here we are 4 years later in a much different situation. Elmhurst has never been stronger. We've balanced our budget shortfall through a record amount of economic development, including the new Elmhurst Hospital and soon the new Mariano's opening in our new TIF district. We've restored our fund balances to safe levels, all while maintaining one of the lowest tax rates in DuPage County. Elmhurst is a great city to live in, raise a family, and it's a wonderful place to do business. My goal as your 7th Ward Alderman is to keep it that way. Thank you again for this opportunity.
Thank you, Pat. Now we will start with the questions. All candidates were given these questions ahead of time, and they will have 1 minute to respond to each of these questions. These were questions prepared by the League of Women Voters. In terms of fairness, we'll start this time with Mike Baker. And the first question is, with this year's reduced budget, decreases in property taxes, and spending cuts, where will you find new revenue for city services?
Thank you. Additional revenue needs to come from our current sales tax base and new businesses. They create additional revenue and opportunities for our city. I would be the consistent voice looking at every alternative before raising property taxes on our residents. This campaign has made me acutely aware of the need to maximize our opportunities for revenue. When business thrives, people spend money in the city, and some families will move to town to be near their businesses. Our city and our business community need to further enhance their efforts to promote Elmhurst as a destination and demonstrate how we are welcoming and supportive to local business. Additionally, Elmhurst should position itself as a destination and for culture and entertainment in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris Healy?
The city's largest current revenue stream is sales tax. Sales tax is generated when residents, and ideally non-residents, of Elmhurst buy as much as possible from the merchants and businesses of Elmhurst. The more sales tax revenue we generate, the less reliant we become on property taxes and fees for Elmhurst homeowners. The more we do to grow and diversify our sales tax base and attract more sales tax producers like Mariano's on North York, or Total Hockey on St. Charles, or Hamburger Jones at York and Villette, the better it is for Elmhurst. The new North York Economic Development Area, or TIF4, will be a powerful tool to help drive sales tax growth in what has been an economically stagnant area for years. Additionally, growing our sales and economic base also helps other taxing bodies in Elmhurst like District 205 and the Park District. The more we do to grow our sales tax base, the better off the city of Elmhurst and our residents will be.
Thank you, Chris. Kevin?
Thank you. The best source of new revenues for the city of Elmhurst is increased economic activity that directly results in increased sales, food and beverage, and other use taxes. Increasing property tax revenues can be achieved through new growth and sensible redevelopment. These revenue increases could also have a trickle-down effect of raising property values. In 2011, I wrote the minority report holding the line on a property tax increase. Again in 2012, after careful study of the city's financial results, I led the effort to reduce the taxes levied on property owners in Elmhurst. I was also actively involved in implementing electric aggregation, putting over $4 million back into the pockets of Elmhurst residences and small businesses. While the economy does seem to be improving, I have consistently supported sensible economic development, and I will continue to advocate for development and redevelopment that makes economic sense, bringing new businesses, new patrons, and new residents to the city of Elmhurst.
Thank you, Kevin. Bob?
I agree with both my esteemed candidates to the right. In terms of growth and attracting businesses is a great idea. Perhaps a big box store such as Lowe's, now that we have lost the two closest Menards and the subsequent loss of Builders Square many years ago. However, those are long-term issues and growth issues. I think that by looking closer to home, such as automating the billing services for water, investigating sales tax fraud within the village, implementing active licensing fees for pets, which is not done, can save hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'm not a candidate that believes $600,000 is a pop for every residence. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Mary Nick?
I think there's not a lot of disagreement about the fact that we need to enhance our revenues. The best way to enhance revenues over the long run is to encourage responsible redevelopment of the areas in our central business district and adjacent commercial areas. I think we should be considering mixed-use developments that appropriately meld retail, office, and residential uses. Every new resident or employee that comes to Elmhurst is likely to be a consumer of the services that we already offer by the retail establishments that are there. It is critical that we increase our retail sales tax base, and to that end, we should work to attract and retain businesses that generate retail sales tax. Potential source of new revenue would come from the redevelopment of the Elmhurst Hospital's Berteau Street campus. This provides us with a very unique opportunity to look at the possibility of what it might be like to have multiple single-family homes in that particular area. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Nick. Marty Deuter.
As required, the city has maintained a balanced budget even in the most difficult financial times. In recent years, however, the budgeting process has resulted in significant property tax increases, which are felt by all residents and especially seniors on fixed incomes. I believe tax increases should always be regarded as a last resort. With the recovering economy and new businesses opening in Elmhurst, sales tax revenue, which is the greatest single source of revenue in the general fund, is expected to increase. These funds should be used to strengthen reserves, cover cost increases, or only as warranted, increase services. Although economic conditions appear to be improving, City Council should continue to identify ways to reduce spending. This should be done during the budget process and throughout the year by improving efficiency, reviewing outside service contracts, and encouraging competitive bidding whenever possible.
Thank you. And now we'll move to our second question, and this time we will start with Chris Healy. And that question is, how do you propose to communicate to your constituents and vice versa, have them communicate to you?
Even in today's world of ever-increasing ways of electronic communication, communicating with my constituency is an ongoing challenge. I have tried to maintain as many different methods as possible to try to communicate with all ages with various degrees of comfort with technology. I have maintained 2 email addresses, a Facebook page, given out my home and cell phone numbers, maintained a large email list, and sent out informational emails when important issues face the city or Fifth Ward. For example, I sent out widely distributed emails on property tax flood relief programs that were available through the Township Assessor's Office, electric aggregation information, and most recently about the new garbage and recycling program. In addition, I have held yearly town hall meetings with my fellow Fifth Ward aldermen where we personally hand-delivered invitations to every home in the Fifth Ward. I've also regularly attended Lincoln School PTA meetings as well as Spring Road Business Association meetings. If reelected, I will remain visible in the community and responsive to constituent calls and emails.
Thank you, Chris. Kevin?
Thank you. I have a track record over the last 4 years, of timely, responsive communication. I return every phone call and email just as soon as I possibly can, more often than not that very same day. Even when I know I have some work to do to get an answer, I always respond back and let the resident know that I am on the job. It amazes me the number of times that I hear someone say, "I didn't expect to hear back from anybody so soon." I'm here to serve my constituents, and returning correspondence timely is a requirement. I attend every event that I possibly can, from chamber events to Heritage Foundation events. My family and I shop and dine locally, and my kids go to public schools here, so I have many face-to-face encounters on a daily basis. An important, time-consuming part of being your alderman is being active in the community and accessible. I have recently launched a Facebook page, Kevin York Alderman, and my website is york4elmhurst.com.
Thank you, Kevin. Bob?
Thank you. Well, with the exception of a CB radio, I can't think of any venue that I won't be able to communicate with citizens with. If elected, I would like to implement an email tree or newsletter blog that concerned citizens can register for and subsequently get an update after each committee or each council meeting. This would keep them informed regarding ongoing events. And hopefully, some of my contributions to the council would be notable enough to seek press coverage. I've published my cell phone number, my address, my email address, and started a website, bob@aldermanbob.com. At that point, I think I've utilized anything else, and I always welcome a phone call to sit down for a cup of coffee and talk about concerns that a citizen or resident might have. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary Nick?
There is an old expression in life about not reinventing the wheel. In the First Ward, kudos should go to Alderman Gutenkopf and Pezza for the development and use of regular email communications and forums with First Ward citizens. I fully favor the continuation and enhancement of these very wonderful citizen-based communication tools. Although the city's website is continually being improved to be more user-friendly, I'm concerned that not enough of our residents actually realize the value of the website and take advantage of it. I would encourage a Get the Word Out campaign to increase awareness and use of our site. I would also like to work with the city IT staff and possibly develop a First Ward dedicated site, which would contain First Ward news. So, for example, First Ward news you can use. On occasion, when emergencies have arisen, the city has used automated phone service calls. I think that might be a possibility as a way to get important information out to First Ward residents.
Thank you. Marty?
I believe one of the most important responsibilities of an elected official is to be aware of residents' concerns and priorities. I have already visited a significant number of homes in the ward, and every chance I have, I am asking about constituents' concerns. Residents will be able to contact me by email or phone. I have already created a website that, in addition to providing my contact information, allows residents to submit questions and comments. I am accessible both day and evening and have time available to respond promptly. Communication will readily flow the other way as well. The website provides a form for me to make information available. In addition, I will continue the practice started by our ward's current alderman of using emails to keep residents informed. I will hold at least one ward-wide town hall meeting annually, and I will have monthly coffees at a local business. I believe that well-informed residents are the most satisfied.
Thank you. And Mike?
Thank you. Communication, availability, and listening to residents' opinions and concerns is a primary focus of my campaign. I want to have residents know who their alderman is and what he stands for. There will be several ways to contact me. I will have a website for people to access for information, as I do now. It links to current city issues, and of course, it includes my phone number and email address. Additionally, I will gather and keep a database of email addresses to keep the ward updated on a regular basis. I think the 4th Ward has more regular attendees to the City Council meetings than any other, so our citizens are involved, and I will help them be informed.
Thank you. And now our third question, and we'll start with Kevin York. And that question is, what is the top infrastructure challenge in your ward?
Well, thank you. There are a few infrastructure challenges in the 4th Ward, but the top one may be determined by where you live. ComEd overhead wires that lead to reduced service reliability are widespread. The soon-to-be vacated hospital building on the Bertow campus creates resident uncertainty. There are stormwater and sewer infrastructure concerns, most notably around Pine Street in the northeast section of Bryn Haven. While I fully supported the comprehensive studies of the storm and sewer systems, progress beyond the completion of those studies has just taken too long. I am, however, confident in the committee work being done to recommend and implement a strategy to solve these critical issues. Along those lines, I co-authored a referral to review how the city could aid residents in private property protection solutions similar to the overhead sewer program. I will continue to advocate for the 4th Ward to assure that problem areas in our ward are addressed equitably and timely relative to other areas in the city.
Thank you, Kevin. Bob?
Thank you. I think in the 5th Ward, finding the right solution to water control and residential flooding and a timeline for implementation depending on the severity is probably the top priority. ComEd accountability and equipment upgrades continue to be an ongoing concern, and we will find out there's some new releases regarding that just hit the paper today regarding funding and possible billing of last year's rates. Filling business vacancies, strengthening the community through partnering and interaction with non-for-profits, residents, and businesses, increasing residential services while maintaining lower tax and creating transparency in the city affairs. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Mary Nick.
In the 1st Ward, we need to be vigilant in the maintenance of all aspects of our infrastructure. We must assure that our streets and our sidewalks are in good condition and appearance. The condition and appearance of our streets and sidewalks are both safety and property value issues. Elmhurst has a long-standing program of regular street, curb, and gutter repair and replacement. That program should not be compromised in order to solve budget challenges. As the development and redevelopment of the Central Business District moves forward, the city will need to make sure that all infrastructure installations and improvements are state-of-the-art and that they are attractive and efficient additions and complements to the existing city infrastructure.
Thank you. Marty?
Stormwater management is a citywide concern, and although the 1st Ward has not historically been the most affected area, flooding and sewer issues are of great concern to the ward's residents. Beyond the plans currently being put forth by consulting engineers and resident task forces, we need to work diligently to ensure that the 2 large proposed developments in the ward, one on Addison just north of 1st Street and the other a bit farther north at Hahn Street, adequately address stormwater management, and do not create flooding problems for neighboring properties. Beyond flooding and sewer issues, we must continue to work diligently, applying pressure when needed, to ensure ComEd makes the necessary improvements to reduce the frequency of power outages and to restore service as quickly as possible when an outage does occur.
Thank you. Mike?
Thank you. Infrastructure issues are including stormwater and sanitary water issues and electrical issues are the main issues facing the Fourth Ward. Stormwater studies have been done, and now prioritizing the projects and determining what funding is available is next on the agenda. The Fourth Ward has 3 of the 10 areas identified by the city as potentially needing flood infrastructure improvements. Although Commonwealth Edison came and made a presentation to the February council meeting, it wasn't clear if their funding is enough this year to adequately make a difference in the outage problems facing the city. Infrastructure problems are one in the Fourth Ward that needs to be addressed, and I'll be there for the residents on this issue.
Thank you. Chris?
Thank you. Clearly, there are 2 main challenges in the Fifth Ward: electrical grid reliability and flooding. With ComEd, I have either led or helped lead council efforts to improve electricity service in Elmhurst by putting pressure on ComEd to improve our grid reliability. These efforts have led to increased tree trimming and added grid improvements, particularly on some of the worst circuits in the Fifth Ward. I have also helped bring electric aggregation to Elmhurst, saving Elmhurst residents an estimated $4 million, or about $300 a household, in the first year alone. With flooding, I have led council efforts to reallocate budget funds to the overhead sewer program so that homeowners affected by the sanitary backups could take corrective action to protect themselves from future events, and also work to include the 2 areas in the Fifth Ward affected by overland flooding on Swain and Seminole in the comprehensive review to identify solutions. And I'm currently serving on the committee that recently approved and recommended an additional $2 million gallons of sanitary sewer capacity. Both of these issues will remain my highest priorities if reelected your alderman.
Thank you. And now we'd like to ask the 4th question, and we will start with Bob Kolb. And that question is, how could technology play a more direct role in the future of the Elmhurst City Council?
Technology is a powerful tool, yet it's a dual-edged sword. It can save money on many platforms, yet it can also alienate users. As previously mentioned, finding alternative methods for billing can result in saving postal costs, paper usage, labor hours, and increased information flow. Yet you must tread carefully as not to lose sight of the quality of customer service that the residents of Elmhurst deserve. An example, I can think of nothing worse than needing to ask a question of the city clerk and being stuck in an endless loop of automated voice phone tree mail. The city today has made great strides in versatility in its website and information contained. My review of the city budget says there might be savings in the voice over IP communications realm, reusable fuel technologies for vehicles, and at the simplest level, web-based technology for opening the lines of communication for partnering with other organizations. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Mary Nick?
Any technology plan relating to the City Council should have as its goal 2 things: enhanced public access and enhanced participation in City Council proceedings, both when the council sits as a whole and when the council sits in connection with its 4 standing committees. Some local governments have begun streaming their proceedings live on the web and making these meetings available to view in real time on their websites. Also, some governments use social media in a more effective manner. For example, a Friday Roundup blog from the city manager, a virtual town hall meeting held by the mayor, or more creative YouTube uses for public service announcements and other activities happening at City Hall. I think City Council committee meetings need to be televised, and that would take part of the perception or misperception away that by the time it comes to the full council, things are already a done deal. That's a challenge that we have, and I think that looking at televising those committee meetings in addition to council meetings will be helpful moving forward.
Thank you. Marty?
The possibilities provided by technology are endless. However, the costs associated with any upgrade or expanded capability must be weighed carefully relative to the proposed benefit and within the context of city priorities. I believe in the saying, just because you can doesn't mean you should. City Council should look for ways to more fully utilize the city's existing technology. The city's website is increasingly used by residents as a source for information and could be used more effectively by City Council to facilitate communication with residents. For example, the city website currently provides a contact phone number for each alderman. A very simple improvement would be to make an email address available as well.
Thank you. Mike?
There are no limits to what technology can do for city government. Elmhurst needs to be aware the public expects transparency in government at every level of its operation. Making use of the internet to better inform the public and community is essential. Streaming meetings live would give the opportunity to the public to have immediate and current information as to what's happening with our city council. One way additionally would be on the city's website would be to have a link to not only to the council agendas, but their history as well of each item so that you can research and be informed to go to city council meetings. This will give the public, again, a better opportunity to review and be prepared to speak on the issues important to them.
Thank you. Chris?
Thank you. Technology will enable the city council and city staff to be more efficient, which should help lower costs of running the city, as well enable better communication with our residents. 3 examples of this are reverse 911 calls, which enable the city to get information out to the residents about problems or emergencies quickly and to as wide a range of people as possible. Second, we have been installing new water meters with radio frequency technology, which allows for quick and efficient meter reading by 2 fewer people than it took in the past. Third, the council recently approved a purchase of the board doc system, which will provide council and staff electronic copies of all meeting material. This reduces staff time in preparing individual meeting packets for each of the aldermen and greatly reduces the amount of paper consumed to print and copy all of the material. This will eliminate thousands of pages of printed material year after year and has already accounted for reduced staffing at City Hall.
Thank you. Kevin?
Thank you. We've already seen how technology plays a direct role in the City Council with the ability to Skype into meetings should an elected official be out of town on business. An initiative that I have personally championed is the adoption of the electronic meeting packet or board docs. For nearly my whole term on City Council, I have used my personal computer to access my meeting materials electronically, saving the city labor costs, costs of document reproduction, and the delivery cost of these materials. Beside the cost savings, perhaps the most beneficial element of board docs is that the public will have the same access to meeting materials that we do, not only for City Council meetings, but for committee meetings and commission meetings. In this case, technology plays a direct role in enhanced transparency. Having a robust Wi-Fi available in City Hall and the projection of meeting materials during the meetings would also encourage participation by the public, which is a great outcome.
Thank you. And now we come to the last question that is prepared by the League of Women Voters. And we will start with this question with Mary Nick Foster. Elmhurst Memorial Health Center, Elmhurst College, and the Elmhurst Park District are a few of the local organizations that have made great strides in increasing their environmental sustainability. Is reducing Elmhurst's environmental impact a priority to you? And if it is, what is your plan to further building on Elmhurst's past accomplishments to reduce its carbon footprint for both the city's infrastructure and for the community as a whole? Mary Nick.
As a city, we should make sure that our commitment to reducing our carbon footprint and improving our environment are simply not verbal commitments, but rather concrete initiatives that we actively advocate and adhere to. The recent inclusion of a bicycle plan in the city's comprehensive plan is a positive step in this direction. The city should lead from the front and make sure that all of its buildings are as environmentally efficient as possible. We should continue to expand the use of hybrid and other fuel-efficient vehicles in our various fleets and be diligent in replacing city vehicles in a timely manner. The city should seriously consider examining the environmental integrity of all of its vendors and suppliers. The city should insist that builders and developers in our community adhere to the best possible environmental practices. And finally, the city should commit via our website, newsletters, or public service announcements, and we should encourage our citizens to embrace environmentally sound practices. We should make suggestions for expanded recycling, composting, and rain gardens.
Thank you. Marty.
Environmental sustainability is an area where, in many cases, doing the right thing can improve the city's financial position and provide multiple benefits. The city should be constantly looking for these opportunities. I strongly support the city's participation in the Cool Cities Initiative and believe this will help Elmhurst to identify more cost-saving or cost-neutral ways to reduce the city's carbon footprint. Data are an important tool in this process. I would like to see Elmhurst work with Cool Cities to establish energy benchmarks against which progress may be measured and regularly reported. Beyond its own practices, the city should use all its form of communication with residents, the website, the front porch newsletter, utility bills, and vehicle sticker mailings, to make residents aware of programs like Energy Impact Illinois, which offers low-cost energy assessments and rebates.
Thank you. Mike.
Elmhurst should continue its progress in decreasing carbon emissions and making environmental issues a priority. I believe Elmhurst residents are passionate about making our community more sustainable for the future. Having contributed to recycling drives and seeing trucks overflowing with recycled products demonstrates how Elmhurst residents are minimizing our carbon footprint. There is currently no definitive policy in our city pertaining to new vehicles which need to be environmentally friendly. There should be. Elmhurst residents can make a greater difference in our carbon footprint ourselves. We should make it a priority to educate our residents whenever possible on the benefits of decreasing our carbon footprint. Leaving our car at home, walking, biking, or even taking public transportation are simplistic ways to lessen our carbon footprint. The City Council needs to support the people wanting to make a difference in this area. I think we need to encourage our residents and organizations to share ideas and move us ahead.
Thank you. Chris.
Thank you. Reducing Elmhurst's environmental impact is a priority. Going green is a personal choice, and I believe the majority of Elmhurst residents support the idea of using cost-efficient green technology or environmentally friendly methods and practices when feasible. A couple of recent City Council decisions, in addition to the board doc system mentioned previously, showed our commitment to reducing Elmhurst's carbon footprint. First, with our new garbage and recycling program, every home in Elmhurst will receive, at no cost, a 65-gallon recycling toter that will allow for added single-stream recycling capacity. Residents will no longer need to separate paper from plastic when recycling, thus making recycling easier. Second, included in the electric aggregation program was the inclusion for energy RECs that cover 50% of Elmhurst's energy consumption. A REC is basically a monetary subsidy based on the amount of energy consumed to the green energy industry. I believe our job in the council is to support cost-efficient green technology whenever possible.
Thank you. Kevin?
My commitment to reducing environmental impact in Elmhurst is demonstrated in my record as an alderman. As a bicyclist, I recognize the benefits that alternative transportation modes can have for our environment, as well as for our residents and businesses. In order to efficiently and effectively go green, I believe the city should cooperate closely with the Elmhurst Cool Cities Coalition to share, vet, implement, and promote green initiatives. A cooperative plan to work with local businesses to implement recycling programs both in the store and by the dumpster needs to be developed, and I will lead on that. I led the effort to utilize renewable energy credits in our aggregation program, resulting in a 50% reduction in our electric consumption footprint, while also facilitating the development of alternative energy sources. The new refuse contract will result in collection vehicles burning less fuel, and electronic meeting packets require no delivery, both of those efforts reducing carbon emission levels.
Thank you. Bob?
There's many ways that the city can go green, depending on whether we look at it from a departmental level, a residential level, or starting at City Hall. I believe mandating the idea that city fleet vehicles as replaced seek higher mileage or alternative fuel uses. Perhaps partnering with the local automobile dealerships, we could go ahead and implement smart cars at the metro station as an added service to residents and to lower our footprint. As noted by myself before, street lighting could be changed by its effectiveness of reflectors or high-efficiency bulbs. Partnering with the Park District or other businesses or the colleges could easily increase the effectiveness of recycling odd goods. And increasing our bicycle plan could also lower the footprint. Thank you.
Thank you. We've now come to the point in our program where we will ask each candidate to make a 1-minute summary statement, and I will start with Kevin York.
Thank you. As an alderman for the 4th Ward, I take a great deal of pride in my hard work, my dedication, and the time commitment to the job of being your alderman. I return all resident correspondence on a timely basis, and I regularly seek advice from residents on the issues of the day, listening respectfully and with an open mind to all. My involvement in the community goes far beyond my duty as your alderman, making me very accessible to residents. I regularly meet with, learn from, engage, and challenge city staff in the course of my work, and I effectively interact with other local elected officials and beyond. I take the time to read and learn about municipal government and how governments are to interact. What I treasure most about my service as your alderman are the many residents that I've been able to help and the relationships that have been forged out of my service. I humbly and respectfully ask for your support and for your vote on or before April 9th, and I look forward to 4 more years of service to the 4th Ward. Thank you.
Thank you. Bob.
Hello, and thank you very much for this opportunity today. I'm shocked at some of the elections here in Elmhurst that run unopposed. It seems like we are such a vital city and that people would want to work and manage this. I think there's a complacency by the voters and by the City Hall in terms of they've lost sight of the actual value of a dollar or what the time it takes to actually make a decision correctly. I bring a fresh, new conservative approach, and I hope that with my input, with input from the residences, that we can control spending and we can look at a fresh way to move our city forward. I want your vote. I think I'm an asset. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mary Nick.
Why am I running? It's the question I often get. And I'd have to say it's because the 1st Ward deserves an alderman who has the experience, skills, and qualifications and the right temperament to be an effective representative of the interests of the 1st Ward and a representative of the city of Elmhurst. I believe that candidate is me. I respectfully believe that my extensive experience as the executive director of a governmental agency, my attorney experience, and my ethical professional experience makes me the candidate best qualified for 1st Ward Alderman. It would be an honor to serve on your behalf. I ask for your vote on April 9th. Thank you.
Thank you. Marty.
I would encourage 1st Ward voters to cast their vote based not on one issue or even a set of issues, but rather based on their belief in a candidate's ability to make thoughtful and well-informed decisions on all the issues that come before her. Voters should expect all critical issues to be carefully considered and respectfully debated. My mind operates analytically. I collect information, research options, and form conclusions. I will politely share my opinions with my colleagues and engage in respectful debate and disagreement when warranted. As I mentioned earlier, I know that to do the job well takes time. An effective alderman is available to meet with residents, local business owners, city staff, colleagues, and other stakeholders. Time is spent preparing for committee and council meetings. I will invest the time needed to do the job right, and I will be available and accessible to constituents. I am interested to hear the issues, strengths, and weaknesses that are important to you. Please feel free to contact me. Thank you very much for your consideration.
Mike.
Thank you. I am running for alderman to represent the citizens of our ward by being available, responsible, and to accommodate their needs, not mine. With the election of a new mayor impending, who will hopefully provide fresh leadership for our city, this is an exciting time to live in Elmhurst and an important time. I would like to be part of a revitalized city council that works together and values the input of its citizens. As alderman, I look forward to acting and serving as an outlet for our citizens' opinions as to how we can improve our city. I don't want our city council to be a blanket rubber stamp. I would like to have my own voice heard and respect others' voices and respect the voices of our citizens as well, and present those to the council in a respectful way. My range of experience helped me represent you with excellence, and I look forward to getting down to business.
Thank you. And last but not least, Chris Healy.
Thank you. I would like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum today, and to former Alderman Susan Rose for moderating. I would like to wish my opponent and all candidates for office good luck in the upcoming election. When I ran for the job 4 years ago, I pledged to not take the aldermanic stipend if elected. In keeping this pledge, taxpayers have saved almost $10,000. If re-elected, I will again pledge to not accept any stipend nor any benefit from the city. While some have scoffed at this pledge, to me it is a personal choice and an indication of why I serve. It has been my privilege and honor to serve as one of your aldermen from the 5th Ward, and I ask you for the opportunity to serve for 4 more years. Thank you.
Thank you. I thank everyone for participating in this. I want to remind you once again, to those watching on television or those here, if you would like to hear fuller answers to these questions that the candidates might have made, please visit the League of Women Voters website at www.lwvelmhurst.org. I also would like to thank the candidates here. There's a number of folks in the audience who are elected officials or who have run for offices, and you know how hard this is. And I just want to thank our candidates for running, and we appreciate that. Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Susan Rose, and I am president of the League of Women Voters of Elmhurst. And I am very pleased this afternoon to introduce to you Ms. Lori Miller. Lori Miller is the past president of the League of Women Voters of Wheaton and has been the moderator on a number of candidate forums in the Chicagoland area, as well as in Elmhurst, who has assisted us in moderating the candidate forum for county board earlier in the fall. So without much ado, the rules of this forum are similar as before, and I will hand you over to the capable hands of Lori Miller. Thank you very much, Lori.
Thank you, Susan, and thank you, audience members and candidates, for being here today. We know today is NASCAR, and we appreciate you taking the time to learn about what's going on with the candidates and what's important to you. So truly, we hope you did fill out those cards to ask your questions of the candidates, because it's important for them to know what's on your mind. We do have capable sorters that will put those questions to us to ask the candidates, and they'll have up to a minute to answer your concerns. So with that, the league format will be: we will go with 2-minute opening statements, then we'll have questions from that were prepared in advance from the league members, and then those will be answered with up to a minute responses, and then your questions with up to a minute to respond. And candidates, just as we have with budget items, if you get up to a minute, you don't need to use all of that, and that would enable more questions to be asked. So thank you in advance for your cooperation. And with this, I would like to ask Diane Gutenkopf, our first candidate, to go ahead with her opening statement. We'll proceed with candidate Mark and then candidate Steve.
Thank you. I came to Elmhurst in 1991 as the curator of the Elmhurst Historical Museum. I enjoyed serving as Elmhurst historian, and I grew to love this community. Today, I share a 1920s bungalow with my husband and 3 stepsons. I work as the director of the Robert McCormick Museum at Cantigny, and I have served as First Ward Alderman since 2007. I'm proud of my many accomplishments as Alderman. First Ward residents enjoy tremendous access to their elected officials, and through my actions, our ward is safer with new sidewalks, stop signs, and improved railroad crossings. In fact, the West Avenue crossing is now complete with a wide pedestrian bicycle path and new gates. I believe every elected official should communicate with residents and be responsive to their views. I believe easier access to elected officials fosters both the public's ability to know what's happening in town and the elected officials' increased level of accountability to that public. I believe it is time to start a new era in Elmhurst government, one where transparency is the norm, one where set procedures and policies put in place to protect taxpayer dollars are actually followed 100% of the time. I believe we should apply standard metrics used by businesses and nonprofits in the way we run City Hall. These include planning and evaluation tools that help us know if we've achieved our desired effect while reducing waste, increasing productivity, and keeping taxes low. Lower taxes make it easier for everyone to shop in Elmhurst and keep sales tax revenue close to home. And lower taxes mean we make Elmhurst easier for seniors to stay in their houses. My 25-year work history in nonprofit businesses gives me a strong sense of fiscal responsibility. Nonprofits are proficient at doing more with less, important skills the City Council needs to adopt to ensure we spend your tax dollars wisely. I'm committed to this fiscal responsibility and to being the voice for all of Elmhurst, and that's why I'm asking for your vote on April 9th.
Thank you, Candidate Gutenkopf. Now, Candidate Mulliner.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for being here. My name is Mark Mulliner. I've been an alderman since 1999 for the 7th Ward of the city of Elmhurst. I was born and raised in Elmhurst, and I believe this is the greatest city that there is. And that's the reason why I've decided that it's time to run for mayor and to step up and run for mayor. I have a family. My wife was a school teacher for 35 years up at Churchville. I worked as the school district technology director for 25 years. Following that, I started my own company and have supported up to 150 different school districts in the state of Illinois as it relates to technology. I have an experience with working with boards, and large governing bodies. So I understand how the government is supposed to work, and I understand how they're supposed to respond to the public. We've done a very effective job in the 7th Ward, in my mind, in responding to a number of the issues that have been in front of us lately, especially the flooding issue, which we'll talk a little bit more about in the future, but we've been able to respond tremendously to some of those issues as well as the power issues. I have 2 children. Those 2 children are both grown. Unfortunately, one of them moved to Houston. We wanted her to stay here, but one's in Houston. The other one does live here in town, but they're both grown children. Both went through the school system. So we understand the school system. A little bit more about my history. Besides serving as an alderman, I served on the library board for 6 years. During that time, what we did was we worked on getting the planning together as it related to building the new library. One of the things that we were very careful about during that process was to make sure that what we did was to make sure we preserved the old existing building at the same time as providing a new modern library as you see it today. As my final comment, what I'd like to do is just remind you on April 9th is a very important day in the city of Elmhurst, and I'd like to remind you to vote for Mark Mulliner. I'm last on the ballot, but I put Elmhurst first.
Thank you, Candidate Mulliner. Candidate Morley, your opening comments.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Steve Morley, 6th Ward Alderman and candidate for Elmhurst for mayor. Let me begin by thanking the League of Women Voters for sponsoring this event and providing candidates with an opportunity to openly discuss the issues facing our city. This is our chance to speak directly to the people about the issues. Today, I hope to give people a better understanding of who I am, my thoughts about city issues, and why I'm the best choice to be the next mayor of this great city. As for me, I'm a lifelong resident of Elmhurst. I was born here, raised here, and attended school here. After college, I returned here to my home, Elmhurst. My wife and I live here with our 3 children. I am the president of an Elmhurst-based business which employs over 25 people, many of whom live right here in Elmhurst. That experience as a small businessman, community volunteer, and alderman makes me uniquely qualified to be the next mayor of Elmhurst. No one running for election better understands and appreciates the issues facing Elmhurst businesses, families, and the community more than I do. I am running for mayor because I believe this city needs a mayor that will provide strong ethical leadership, progressive solutions, and a commitment to good government. With my experience as alderman, I have demonstrated my leadership on issues relating to common sense budget reforms and quality of life improvements. I am committed to restoring the people's confidence in government by employing aggressive policies that allow our city to do more with less and govern in a manner that reflects the priorities of our community. Let me be perfectly clear. If elected mayor, I promise that I will work to represent this city with honor and distinction and will fulfill my commitment to serve the full term to which I am elected. If you share my belief that Elmhurst needs a mayor with a proven record of strong leadership, progressive solutions, and a commitment for good government, I hope that you will vote for me on April 9th. Thank you.
Thank you, Candidate Morley, for your opening comments. At this time, we'll go to the league questions, and we will rotate the order in which you will answer. And Candidate Mulliner, we'll start with you. Why do you want to be mayor, and what special skill sets do you bring?
I want to be mayor because I feel that this is the moment when we have to restore to the city of Elmhurst the professionalism. The city of Elmhurst is a $100 million corporation, and as an elected official, we need to operate as a board in that same manner. We need to treat it as a $100 million corporation. We have a skilled staff that's hired to do their jobs, and we are there to set the policies and make sure those policies are implemented, not to micromanage what's occurring at the staff level. And that's where I believe that I bring the most to this table, is because that's what I do, is I make sure that we set policy and then we get out of the way and let the staff do it, but we monitor what's going on. In addition to that, I also believe that we need to do some stuff with intergovernmental cooperation. That intergovernmental cooperation, we need to work with the parks and the city and the schools. I currently sit on that board that does that, but I would like to see the city council, schools, and parks meet annually to discuss projects so there's no longer any surprises. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate. Candidate Morley?
Thank you. For me, the answer is a personal one. I grew up in Elmhurst, I attended school here, and I have family that lives here. After college, I moved back to town with my wife, and my children now attend school here in Elmhurst. I work here and I volunteer here. I want to make sure that Elmhurst is the same great place to grow up for my children and their children. I'm president of an Elmhurst-based national award-winning marketing company. Marketing is a service business. I have to meet my clients' needs every day and balance the books. I must take a fiscally pragmatic approach to problem solving. I've been an alderman for 6 years and chairman of the Development Planning and Zoning Committee for the last 4. On the council, I have a record of working with individuals of different backgrounds and experiences while making sure not to lose sight of what is best for the city. My unique set of skills and experience will provide invaluable in my role as mayor. Simply put, I want to be mayor because I care deeply for this town and its future.
Thank you, candidate. Candidate Gutenkopf?
Thank you. The 2010 Illinois Civic Health Index states, "A healthy democracy requires a combination of a citizenry that has the capacity, resources, and confidence to effectively engage in the democratic process, and government policies that value accessibility, transparency, and accountability." I ran for public office because I believe that being civically engaged is important, and I value accessibility, transparency, and accountability. I've held annual town hall meetings, frequent informal coffee and conversation events to update residents on council activities, maintained an extensive email list, and kept the First Ward informed about how their tax dollars are spent. My vision is to have this same level of communication and access available to all Elmhurst residents. I have strong communication skills and the ability to break down complex problems into step-by-step tasks. I bring sound fiscal management skills from my nonprofit background, and I've operated tight budgets funded by generous donors. Taxpayer-funded city budgets must be handled in a similar fashion. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate. Candidate Morley, the next question. Defend your vote on TIF 4, also known as Tax Increment Fund 4.
I support the creation of this TIF district and the redevelopment of North Elmhurst. Promoting economic development is the single most important action we can take to reduce our long-term reliance on property taxes. This TIF is about the expansion of our tax base and creating an economic engine that will support Elmhurst in the future. As chairman of the DP&Z committee, I can tell you that one concern that was top of mind during this entire process was the effect this district would have on our fellow taxing bodies. I proposed adding Conrad Fisher and Churchville to the TIF district, allowing us to use capital funds to fund their capital projects. We are about to enter into a revenue sharing agreement that will pay the schools and parks an amount that is 5 to 10 times greater than if the TIF had not been established. This agreement will include the immediate distribution of $1 million to the school district at a time when it is sorely needed. The commercial growth rate on North York lags behind the rest of Elmhurst by a factor of almost 3 to 1. This is the first step in correcting that.
Thank you, candidate. Candidate Gutenkopf?
Thank you. I believe York Road between Grand and North Avenues needs improvement, and the city should help foster its growth. Making this area a TIF seemed like a good idea at first. When plans shifted to incorporate land south of North Avenue and to move the Han Street development from TIF 1 into TIF 4, I pointed out that TIF 1 created a thriving downtown district with increased property values generating enough revenue for the city to amass property around Han Street. TIF 1 paid for this land, and TIF 1 should benefit from this project. Incremental property taxes from this parcel, plus other properties, have been sequestered since 1986. I did not support TIF 4 because I could not support the final map. I believed we should have built Hunt Street within TIF 1, like we've been promising all along. Then when the TIF ends, it would have generated ongoing property tax relief for all Elmhurst residents, instead of sequestering the incremental growth for an additional 23 years.
Thank you, candidate. Candidate Mulliner.
I supported the TIF 4 for a lot of the same reasons that Alderman Morley did, her candidate Morley, because economic development is a necessity in the north end of town. I want to make one thing clear. There was a need to do some development up there. We've lost 4 car dealerships in the last 4 years. We've got a number of parcels up there that are very difficult to put together. They worked very effectively. This system worked very effectively when we did it on Walnut, Lake and Walnut. The most critical thing that I want people to understand is that this is an opportunity for us to increase the tax base, which helps us to reduce the homeowners' taxes at the end of the day. The intergovernmental agreement is a critical component of this, and that process is in its final stages, and the school districts and other taxing bodies will benefit greatly from that. I also stated very clearly that I will not support another TIF district until we retire one of these existing ones. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate. Candidate Gutenhoff, the next question. What is your top priority for the city infrastructure?
We need a comprehensive plan that addresses overland flooding and sanitary sewer backups using a combination of policy changes and infrastructure upgrades that include green practices. Overland flooding solutions proposed by our consultants and the Citizens Task Force suggest we use large areas of open space, mostly in Elmhurst parks and schoolyards, to create detention basins for floodwater. Greener practices that incorporate drainage features to mitigate overland flooding and keep stormwater out of our sanitary sewer system can be cost-effective. Green streets in other cities show construction cost savings of roughly $329 a square foot over conventional construction. In a 2011 study, Chicago's Green Alleys program was 3 to 6 times more effective in managing stormwater per $1,000 invested than conventional methods. We're already taking steps to upgrade our sanitary sewer system. I propose moving forward quickly with plans and policy changes to help rid the sanitary sewers of clean water and keep sewage out of basements.
Thank you, candidate. Candidate Mulliner.
The same issue is probably the top on everybody's page, and that is the overland flooding and the sewage going into homes. I worked very hard with a few of the other aldermen to make sure that we did a comprehensive plan rather than it just being the regular run-of-the-mill solutions to these problems. And we have come up with some tremendous solutions, and one of them is going to be implemented within the next year to year and a half in the 7th Ward. And it will remove the sanitary from the storm sewer. It will also reduce significantly the amount of overland flooding in that area. So we feel that this is the direction we should begin to move. I also agree that there's some opportunities for us to do some green work. At the current time, we have one of the consulting firms in Elmhurst currently looking at Pine Street to maybe do a pilot program there where we would use paver blocks and green infrastructure in order to do a pilot program. We also need to focus on lowlands, not highlands, for our solutions. We have to look at where the land is low. And that's where we need to solve the problem, is put flooding solutions in the lowlands. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate. Candidate Morley.
Thank you. As a city, we need a dedicated commitment to maintain our streets, sidewalks, and critical city services that make Elmhurst such a great place to live. As mayor, I will ensure that the infrastructure of our city will remain a top priority and not something to be sacrificed during budget discussions. While ongoing maintenance of our roads, sidewalks, and open areas is important, our #1 priority needs to be the continual upgrade of our stormwater and sanitary systems. Many of our residents have experienced severe flooding in the past 5 years. I have personal experience as my basement is flooded twice. I understand how in a situation like this, one feels completely helpless. While not everybody floods, we are all impacted by flooding through citywide cleanup expenses, unsafe conditions, increased insurance premiums, and probably most impactful, the value of our homes. This problem is not new, cannot be solved overnight, and will require the cooperation and commitment of both the City of Elmhurst and its residents. We as a city need to prioritize improvements based on cost, timing, and improvement desired. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate. Candidate Mulliner, we'll start with you for the next question. Give examples of how, and for the purpose of serving your communities, you have been able to work productively with others who don't share your opinions.
In my ward, we were impacted greatly by the flooding, and one of the things that I was able to do was meet with the residents of the ward. We had a meeting where people were very unhappy about the flooding. I sat down and we chatted with 250 of them at one time and met with individuals periodically. One of the things that I spend a lot of time doing is having coffees with people, because I believe that even though technology is out there and we can respond using emails and things like that, sometimes the old-fashioned method of having a face-to-face conversation is much more effective. And I would much rather sit down and have a coffee with somebody and say, all right, let's talk about your problems, because then we can come up with better solutions and we actually can get on the same page and come up with something that works for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate. Candidate Morley.
Thank you. I would point to two examples of collaboration, compromise, and productivity. I participated in a highly public battle with ComEd, a company whose opinion I rarely share. I personally wrote to ComEd's senior counsel, our local legislators, and governor, advocating Elmhurst's concern. We met with ComEd and others at City Hall and were able to agree upon and set common goals. The result was a written commitment from ComEd to the citizens of Elmhurst to improve our infrastructure. In 2009, the city staff and the Finance Committee were recommending a significant tax increase. While I believe it is important for Elmhurst to pay its bills and improve our fund balances, I did not agree to the amount of the tax increase. I personally contacted several aldermen, including members of the Finance Committee, and I voiced concerns regarding the increase and the impact to Elmhurst taxpayers. We were able to work together and reach a compromise and reduce the amount of the tax increase. My ability to work with people of differing points of views is evidenced by the fact that I'm being supported by 9 current aldermen.
Thank you, candidate. Candidate Gutenkopf.
During my time on City Council, few topics have been as polarizing as land vacation requests. I believe that selling city-owned assets should generate a maximum fair value for taxpayers, while some council members believe in practically giving city-owned land away. I believe selling city assets should be guided by a careful deliberative process with clear guidelines for establishing land value and price. A recent land vacation request is a good example of how I helped to forge a fair deal for everyone involved, despite very different ideas on how to value the land. During a committee meeting over this land vacation request in TIF 2, some committee members advocated giving the parcel to the requester for free. I strongly disagreed, and through negotiation, I returned the discussion to the city's land vacation policy and arrived at a more appropriate price. In the end, we reached an agreement that we all could support. One business was able to sell their property, the buyer received one large parcel instead of 2 disconnected ones, and as taxpayers, we got some money back for our investment in that street.
Thank you, candidate. Candidate Morley, we'll start with you for the next question, and it's a little lengthy. Elmhurst Memorial Health Center, Elmhurst College, and the Elmhurst Park District are a few of the local organizations that have made great strides in increasing their environmental sustainability. Is reducing Elmhurst's environmental impact a priority? And if yes, what is your plan to further building on Elmhurst's past accomplishments to reduce its carbon footprint for both the city's infrastructure and for the community as a whole?
Could you repeat that? No, I'm just kidding. A well-balanced, fiscally responsible sustainability policy should be a priority for the City of Elmhurst. I am committed to incorporating sustainable practices into all of our operations, and I welcome suggestions from Elmhurst Cool Cities Coalition. As each individual can make small routine changes to lessen environmental impact, I believe changes across city departments and the encouragement of residents to act together as a community can reduce our imprint on a grander scale. Environmentally friendly stormwater mitigation design, continued additions to our green fleet, and upgrading LED street lighting when replacement is necessary are just a few steps we can take. Using fewer resources, including fuel, electricity, and paper-based products, comprise the foundation of future plans. Each decision will require examination of costs and benefits as it relates to sustainability and our budget constraints. I believe in preserving our community by promoting a sustainable lifestyle while recognizing the limits of our tax dollars.
Thank you, candidate. Candidate Gutenkopf.
I have supported Elmhurst's involvement in the Cool Cities program since I voted to support the U.S. Mayor's Climate Protection Agreement in 2007. I helped create the city's sustainability policy to reduce the city's carbon footprint and encourage environmental partnerships. Now we use biodiesel fuel in our truck fleet and partner with Elmhurst College on electronics recycling events. Our electric aggregation program purchases power derived from at least 50% renewable sources. I propose forming a sustainability commission of residents and representatives from Elmhurst Cool Cities Coalition and other groups. It would make recommendations to the council about Cool Cities milestones and help publish annual reports tracking our city's progress. I try to lead by example. I hosted an Energy Impact Illinois event, spreading the word about energy efficiency grants for homeowners. I've reduced my home's stormwater impact with a permeable paver driveway. I bike to work whenever I can, and I drive a fuel-efficient car.
Thank you, candidate. Candidate Molliner?
Yes, this is a Cool Cities, and the whole concept of a carbon footprint is very critical. We have done a tremendous number of things in the past few years by changing a lot of or beginning to change our fleet to hybrid, biodiesel fuel, a lot of the things that you've already heard. In addition to that, some of the things that, as I stated earlier, that we're looking at is a prime example is Pine Street. We currently have a research project going on to see whether or not it makes sense to use permeable pavers there. That's a sustainable solution for us, and maybe a very cost-effective one. One of the things that I want to be very careful about, though, is that we're not doing something that's symbolic, that's costing the taxpayers a lot of money versus doing something that actually makes sense. So we need to be very careful on how we do any of these projects. As an example, if we resurfaced the top of over here in the parking lot with permeable pavers, it would cost us about $600,000. If we did it just covering it, it's $50,000. So we have to be cost-effective in how we do things, but we do need to set an example by doing things as much as we can. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. This concludes the question portion, and we'll ask the candidates to move to their up to 1 minute closing comment. And then we'd ask you to stay to hear the District 205 School Board for the next hour. We'll start with candidate Molliner to make your closing comments. We'll proceed with candidate Gutenkopf, and then you will close, Mr. Morley.
I'd just like to thank everybody for being here this evening. I feel that I'm the best qualified candidate because I have significant experience in this field. I've been up here the longest. I think I can bring forth the continuity that we need. I understand the history, but I also look toward the future and where we're going with that. And I just have to say thank you to everyone who's been working with me for my campaign, and I have to thank my wife tremendously. When I first asked her whether I should run for mayor, she was kind of hesitant. She's been at every single event. She supports me wholeheartedly, and I can't say enough. The most important thing that I can ask for all of you is that on April 9th, you go to the polls and you mark Mark Mulliner. I'm last on the ballot, but I put Elmhurst first.
Thank you, candidate. Candidate Gutenkopf.
Thank you. I bring 25 years of strategic planning and nonprofit business experience to City Hall, along with a strong sense of fiscal responsibility. I'm proficient at doing more with less. These are important skills Elmhurst needs to ensure we're spending your tax dollars wisely. I believe in transparent government. Transparency means no more no-bid contracts, backroom deals, or insider cronyism, or a good old boys club. Transparency is elected officials who openly communicate with the citizens they represent so everyone knows when, where, and how tax dollars are spent. As alderman, I fostered communication with all my constituents. I reach out to residents to hear their thoughts on the city's business and share with them information on the council's actions. I believe accessibility is good planning, plus good planning ensures that residents have a say in how their money is spent. As mayor, I'll continue to be the residents' voice. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate. Candidate Morley.
Thank you. In closing, I would like to thank the League and all of the volunteers for making this event possible. I would also like to thank all of the candidates who are running for all of the offices who are willing to volunteer their time for the betterment of our community. As alderman, it has been an honor and a privilege to serve the citizens of Elmhurst for the past 6 years. My wife and I chose to raise our family in Elmhurst because we believe in the character and integrity of this community. It is my experience as a businessman, community volunteer, and alderman that makes me uniquely qualified to be the next mayor of Elmhurst. It is an experience that I will bring with me every day to City Hall, working to attain sensible policies and to keep Elmhurst successful. As I previously stated, I am not interested in a higher office. I am running for mayor because I believe the city needs a mayor that will provide strong ethical leadership, progressive solutions, and a commitment to good government. I thank you for your time. I ask for your support, and I encourage you to vote on April 9th.
Thank you, candidate. Thank you to all of you candidates. It's been a pleasure to serve as your moderator today, and I encourage all of you to take advantage of no excuse voting, which starts March 25th, in case you are tied up on April 9th. So it's appropriate at this time to join me in a round of applause for these candidates. Good luck
Hello. My name is Susan Rose, and I'm president of the League of Women Voters of Elmhurst, and I want to welcome all of you to the candidate forum here. This is our last one of the day for school board candidates for District 205. I want to introduce to you Lori Miller, who will be our moderator. Lori is past president of the League of Women Voters of Wheaton and has had extensive experience in moderating candidate forums. So thanks all for coming. The candidates will make statements, prepared questions, and then we'll be taking questions from the audience. So our student volunteers will be circulating around with cards. Please write your question and pass it through. When this forum is done, I will come back for a few minutes and kind of wrap that up. So I want to thank Lori for moderating this section. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan, and thank you, candidates, and thank you, audience members and those watching from home. It truly is an honor and a privilege to be here today. The Elmhurst League is one of the respected leagues in this state that really does step up and make sure there's transparency and disclosure at all levels, and we're really thrilled, and you should be very honored to have them working on your behalf. So truly, we don't want democracy to become a spectator sport. We need everyone to stay involved and stay engaged, and it's great to have such qualified can-do candidates with us today. So thank you again. The order of speaking was determined in advance for opening comments, and we will have up to 2 minutes to make that opening comments. Then we have some prepared questions, and we will rotate the order. At the end of that, we will take your questions. So please do seek out a volunteer. Get your questions written down. We do not take oral questions. We'll have those sorted by the league members. They'll be presented to me to ask, and then we'll move to closing comments. So thanks again for your participation and your cooperation. With that, I'd like to invite candidate Brinkmeyer to make his 2-minute candidate opening remark.
Thank you, and I want to thank the League of Women Voters, and I want to thank the City of Elmhurst for welcoming us today. I also am very pleased to see so many of the citizens here today. I've lived in Elmhurst for over 40 years. I've been a 17-year commissioner for the City of Elmhurst on planning and zoning. I have experience for 17 years as a college trustee at Elmhurst College. My children have all gone through the District 205 schools. My oldest daughter is about ready to graduate from college, and my youngest daughter is a junior. So a junior at York. I have experienced all the different levels as a parent of our schools. I'm happy to bring that experience to the school board. I'm one of the candidates for 3 open spots. I think it's important that you know why I've decided to run. To me, there are very many mounting challenges that face our Elmhurst schools. I believe that we need a strong, involved, and engaged school board to face these challenges head on. I want to make sure that we go through the process thoughtfully, that we apply vision, and that we listen to our citizens to help us solve these problems. And there is a solution for these problems. As a school board member, I'll do the necessary listening and preparations and will apply critical thinking so that we can come to the best solutions for our Elmhurst students. I'll seek openness and transparency. I'll bring integrity to the office of a school board, and I promise to hold myself to the highest ethical standards. I will listen, and I will urge a new manner of listening so that we can solve the problems that we've got ahead of us. Thank you, and I look forward to the opportunity to talk to you a bit more today.
Thank you, candidate. I'd like to invite candidate Harrell to go ahead and make her opening comments.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting this event. I also want to thank Sue Whitworth, who communicated with all the candidates. I want to thank the audience who took the time, who's listening now or will be listening and or reading our responses. Thank you for the time invested in being an engaged and informed electorate. I'm Margaret Harrell, and me and my husband moved to the district approximately 20 years ago. I've experienced the school system and understand our strengths and our potential opportunities for continuous improvement. I have 2 daughters who went through the whole school system. My oldest daughter is a freshman in college, and my younger daughter is a junior at York. Over my daughter's school years, I've always participated in their school activities. Over the last few years, I've had the opportunity to broaden my activities to more district-wide events. I participated in the EPERT and also the Superintendent's Community Activity Advisory Committee. In the community, I was also a Girl Scout leader and a religious education teacher at Mary Queen of Heaven Church. I have chosen to run for the school board because I am passionate about education. I believe in the potential for success of all children, and I have the desire to serve. My background and my experience support this statement. My educational background includes a Bachelor of Science in Biomedical Engineering, as well as an MBA from Northwestern University, and I have a PhD in Organizational Development. Over the last I've had 15 years of work experience in corporate level in middle management. I've also have 9 years of work experience in government and not-for-profits. This viewpoint, this balanced viewpoint, has allowed me to see the opportunities for success as well as harsh realities of life. My doctorate in organizational development has spurred my desire to serve. Thank you.
Thank you, Candidate Harrell. Candidate Collins, your opening comments?
Again, thank you to the League for hosting this afternoon. I'm a lifelong resident of Elmhurst, and I attended District 205 schools. That great educational foundation allowed me to earn a bachelor's degree in engineering from the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, as well as an MBA with a concentration in finance from the University of Chicago, which opened the door to a 20-year career in corporate finance and debt capital markets. I will have kids in our schools until the year 2021. I was elected to the school board for the first time 4 years ago. In those 4 years, I've served on the Policy Committee, on the Park, City, and Schools Committee, as well as chair of the Finance Committee, as board secretary for a year, and since May of 2012, I have been the president of the Board of Education. I spent well over 1,000 hours learning and working with others to make our school district a better place for our students. The most tangible item of which I am most proud is having been part of the transition from the past administrative team to the present superintendent and his group of administrators, who I predict will become regarded as the best we have had in a generation. This change, with a good deal of assistance and expertise brought forward by strong leaders on the school board, led the way for an improved relationship with citizens, teachers, parents, our city government, and the community as a whole. We've changed from a culture of crisis and confrontation to one of collaboration and conversation. I think everyone agrees there's a bit less drama going on now than there was 4 years ago, which allows time for consensus building and focus on education. I ran 4 years ago on a platform to make Elmhurst 205 one of the very best school districts in the nation. I still believe that is possible, and I want to see it through for another 4 years. My other unshakable commitment is to fiscal responsibility, to ensure that our tax dollars are carefully spent, allowing Elmhurst to maintain economic strength and vitality for my children and yours. These two things go hand in hand. Great school districts attract new residents and increase the demand for our homes, thereby raising our property values. And I'm running for re-election on these same two pillars. The difference this time is I have a track record of accomplishments to build upon.
Thank you, Candidate. Candidate Bastido.
Hello, my name is Emily Bastido. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting today's forum, those of you in attendance, and the people watching at home. I'm happy to have the chance to introduce myself to voters who may not know me and to tell you more about why I'm committed to this community and to the schools. I grew up in Texas. I went to college at Notre Dame and then law school at DePaul University in Chicago. Immediately after law school, I took a job at a firm in downtown Chicago where I practiced public finance law. While practicing law, I worked mostly with Illinois school districts on financing transactions that included long-term bonds to finance fundamental capital projects and short-term warrants to cover imminent cash flow needs. I prepared and reviewed financing documents for school districts and delivered legal approving opinions on the bonds being issued. My husband Brian and I moved to Elmhurst over 5 years ago because we were attracted to the beautiful downtown, the friendly people, the community values, and most of all, the schools. Since I have been in Elmhurst, I have been involved in Visitation Parish, the Elmhurst Newcomers and Neighbors Club, the YMCA, and the Jackson PTA. I am running for a position on the school board because I believe I can contribute to the great Elmhurst community by making the schools better for your children and mine. I want to use my school finance experience to accomplish my #1 goal, which is helping every student succeed. I will have children in the Elmhurst schools until the year 2027, so I could not be more invested in this community and the district. I am also aware that most Elmhurst taxpayers do not have children in Elmhurst schools. So as a board, we have to be smart about every dollar we spend and use the resources that we have wisely. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate. Those children through the school years will soon be in college because it goes very quickly. Mine are both in college now. We'll move now to the prepared questions. Please be respectful of the timekeepers. You can finish your thought, so when you see that stop sign go up, that's your signal to go ahead and wrap up that sentence. And you can save for the ending comments those unfinished thoughts and ideas you want to share with the audience, so thank you. The first question, it says, and we will start with candidate Harrell, should District 205 move toward one-to-one computing and digital textbooks? How financially could the district achieve this?
There is a movement in education toward one-to-one computing and digital textbooks. What District 205 wants to answer is, what position do they want to take in the industry? Do they want to be a leader, a fast follower, or a cautious trailer? And I think before we need to answer that, we need to think about what we have currently in our system. Currently, we have 4,200 computers in our system. What that breaks down to for elementary and high school, there's a 1-to-3 ratio, and for middle school, there's a 1-to-2 ratio. Now, it's not about what we have, it's how we're using what we have. So key questions are asked, how are those technologies being introduced into our system currently? There's been information in the paper that suggests that there's opportunity for improvement. What we need to do is try to find creative ideas, such as super users in each of the building, to help translate what we have, the resources we have, into how we can utilize those resources.
Thank you, candidate. Candidate Collins?
The short answer to the question is definitely yes. The true questions are how, when, and what are we trying to achieve? For the sake of time, I will not address the obvious advantages of size, weight, and convenience. But we need to be prudent by jumping on the cost curve at the right time. District 205 is currently carefully watching better-funded districts like Naperville and New Trier, who are currently implementing one-to-one computing, but going about it in two very different ways. The District 205 administration is taking careful notes on New Trier and Naperville's successes, failures, and the impact of their approaches are having on student achievement. And this is the key to one-on-one computing. It must impact student achievement positively in order to be worth the investment. 205 is carefully watching the changing pricing structures of the big three textbook companies and weighing the cost of developing courses and curriculum using open source material available at no cost. For the sake of time, I cannot go into the details now, but please see the League of Women Voters website for my complete answer to this question.
Thank you, candidate. Candidate Bastido?
Technology is a great way to engage students and improve learning. So yes, I would like to see District 205 integrate one-to-one technology into the learning environment. This cutting-edge move would need to be grounded in research, supported with a financial business case, and launched with a closely monitored rollout to ensure these benefits are delivered. It would require many things, including strong leadership from the administration, a clear plan for how the laptops or tablets would be integrated, and more district-wide bandwidth. Teachers would need to invest time and effort to change their teaching practices in a way that incorporates the technology, because studies show that without proper implementation, student achievement does not improve. Before moving in this direction, the school board would have to be sure that this is something the community supports, because it would take financial resources. Every year, the budget reflects these kinds of trade-offs and tough decisions. Of course, any solution would have to keep costs in mind and provide access for all of our students.
Thank you, candidate. Candidate Brinkmeyer?
Thank you. I too love technology, and I think the short answer is yes. The goal for using e-books or digital textbooks is a good one, and I support it. I understand that currently that's not financially capable for all of our schools, and I know that we need to be fair as how we put those in all of our schools. something I consider about the justification to move toward the printed textbook, away from the printed textbook and toward the digital textbook, is how the impact of that will improve our student learning. Currently, we have hired a large number of teachers that have different skills than those necessary to go to a full digital curriculum. So this initiative, like every other initiative, has to have a broad discussion in public before we move there. It won't work if it's mandated from the top down.
Thank you, candidates. The next question, and we'll start with candidate Collins. What are your priorities concerning school safety?
Thank you. Again, I will direct you to the League of Women Voters website for my complete answer to this very complex question. Every morning when my children go off to school, my expectation is that they will be safe throughout the day and that I will see them that evening. I would be devastated if I did not. Like every American, my heart goes out to all the parents at Sandy Hook and every town where the devastation of lost lives have occurred in schools. At the same time, though, I know that statistically my children are in more danger of dying when they come home in our car than while they're in our classrooms. To make our schools impenetrable, they would have to look and feel like prisons with steel doors, small windows, metal detectors, and armed guards at every entrance. Not only would that level of security be unrealistically expensive, but I would choose not to send my children to those schools because a culture of fear is not the worldview I want my children to experience every day.
Thank you, candidate. Candidate Bastido?
As a parent, the only thing more important to me than providing a great education to every student in Elmhurst is providing a safe and secure environment in which they can learn. As a school board member, I would first make sure every single school is following the security measures that are currently in place. The district has a school safety plan that has been reviewed by law enforcement officers, administrators, teachers, and the district safety committee. And every school needs to follow that safety protocol. I would make it a priority to ask the administration to review our school safety plan, have an outside party review the safety plan, and report back to the school board about what else we can be doing at every level to keep our children safe. At the very least, every school should have a secure entrance. School security measures should be regularly updated, refined, and practiced. This also means addressing the mental health side of security as well by making sure we have enough mental health professionals in our schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Brinkmeyer?
While the overnight polls after Sandy Hook suggested that we throw police at the problem, I have heard in going around town that our citizens in Elmhurst don't want our schools governed by local polls. I think the real concern is one that Mrs. Bastido talked about, and that is the mental health concern. That's where I think the next problem is going to lie. So let's take that on right now. Instead of talking about gun control, which has its role, let's talk about helping our kids with the mental health problems. I've completed a lengthy answer to this. I'd like you to read it. This is very complex. I can't get to it in 1 minute. But let's listen to our kids. I've made a list of the things that we ought to address. 2 of them are, let's talk honestly with our children about the feelings they have concerning their thoughts of the safety they feel in their schools. They aren't alone in their fears.
Thank you, candidate. Candidate Harrell?
Thank you. School safety is incredibly important, and the great news is Elmhurst has done a very good job in making sure there's restricted access and a pilot for digital surveillance. But just like the other candidates mentioned, sometimes the challenge is within, and that talks about one, the York students came to a board meeting and talked about the mental health, the stresses, despair, anxiety that were felt by other students. So that is where I believe our focus should be. Our focus should be what type of programs can we institute, particularly at the middle school and high school levels. There's programs that have been piloted at the York High School, such as Challenge Day. There's a multitude of other programs that are out there that talk to our students and help them address the issues and challenges that they face. Again, the general point here is school safety is a community issue. It's not just a school issue. It's parents, it's law enforcement, it's the society that we have to work with.
Thank you, candidates. Candidate Bastido, we'll start with you for the next question. How does the district best meet the needs of English language learners?
The laws in Illinois regarding ELL students are clear, and the district does and should work hard to comply with those laws. An ELL program of transitional bilingual education can meet the needs of ELL students and facilitate their integration into the regular public school curriculum. It is important to give them instruction in their native language so that learning is not delayed while they are learning English. The district has exceptional transitional bilingual educators that teach students as they learn English until very little language support, if any, is needed. Our schools can also use the experiences and language skills of ELL students to benefit the general student population that will one day leave school and participate in our global economy.
Thank you. Candidate Brinkmeyer?
Thank you. Having been a teacher before I graduated from law school, I understand that a good part of effective teaching is an art. One size fits all won't work for English language learning. I support the idea that each classroom teacher must determine what strategies best to employ with the right student at the right time to support English language learning. From my perspective, it appears that English language learners would benefit from a lot of plans that would help in all the institutions of teaching. So we need professional development, curriculum improvement, understanding demographic profiles, a community culture, and existing program models need to be studied. With this in mind, some of the practices support improved achievement for English language learning as well as using their native language to help them learn. A few of the important ideas I've got are listed on my answer.
That would be on your website. Candidate Harrell?
Thank you. Just as Candidate Bastido mentioned, there are certain rules, certain state mandates which dictate what our district level should be. However, and I guess I say and, just as Candidate Brinkmeyer mentioned, we need a creative plan. So the question is, how can we meet the needs that are established by the state creatively? What we know is that we've got to have everybody involved in the discussion. Everybody involved in the discussion, that means we need our community, we need our staff, we need our administration, we need our students, and we need to make sure the parents of those English language learners are comfortable. Studies have shown where parents are more involved, the students do better, and they learn quicker. We need to make sure we have a creative, systematic plan which involves all parties to identify a creative solution to our English language learners.
Thank you, candidate. Candidate Collins.
If I can make one thing very clear, Illinois law provides clear guidance and mandates to all school districts regarding students who are English language learners. Laws govern qualifications and numbers of teaching staff, instructional minutes, testing, and more. These laws are very prescriptive. And as a school board member, I uphold our district's adherence to every legal requirement. For anyone seeking changes to these requirements, those questions need to be asked of our legislators serving in Springfield. Personally, I'd like to see our school district go beyond the minimum requirements of the law and offer a dual language program in some of our elementary schools. A dual language program allows parents to place their children in a class with, say, 10 English-only speaking kids and 10 students that speak another language, whether it be Spanish, Polish, or whatever. And the school teaches these kids from kindergarten through 5th grade in both languages. So by 5th grade, all 20 kids can read, write, and think in 2 languages. Research clearly shows that kids from a dual language program academically outperform their single language peers by the time they reach high school.
Thank you, candidates. We'll move to the next question, and we'll start with candidate Brinkmeyer. Several schools and parent groups within District 2R5 are working on environmentally sustainability initiatives. Is preparing our young people to be responsible environmental citizens a priority for you? If yes, what are your ideas for addressing this district-wide?
Sustainability has been a lifetime priority for me and will continue to be. I've got a track record on this. In November 2009, I made a presentation as a commissioner to our Zoning and Planning Commission that led to changes in questionings that we hold in our public hearings right here in City Hall. I've got a further track record being a trustee at Elmhurst College. In 2002, we obtained funding for permeable pavers, and we're considered to be a model in Elmhurst for that approach for sustainability. There are opportunities like that in the district. We have to think longer term, though. We can't just think short term, what's going to get us through the next budget cycle. Long-term planning is the way this works. It will help us if we work together with our intergovernmental partners. There are opportunities for us to take advantage of this, but sustainability is an important aspect, and we should always take advantage where we can. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate. Candidate Harrell?
And obviously, I am agreeing, yes. Ensuring our students are responsible environmentally is a priority. I'm also agreeing that is a long-term initiative. And when I start talking about a long-term initiative, I'm saying let's start early. Madison School District, Elementary School District. Let's build on some simple approaches that are already there and have our students learn to make these habits. Research shows 21 days and you can make something a habit. Let's put together some creative programs while they're in elementary school to talk about what our community has learned. We've got several best demonstrated practitioners in sustainability. Let's learn from our community and share those lessons with our students. I'm sure they're very quick, they're very bright, they'll find up even more creative ideas on how to make sure that this is a priority and a long-term priority for their lifetime.
Thank you, candidate. Candidate Collins?
My top commitment is to help our district prepare our students to excel in an increasingly competitive global society. One aspect of that is to ensure students are environmentally aware of the impact of daily decision-making and related individual and group responsibilities. This year, to promote environmental awareness through our curriculum, York High School added AP, Environmental Science, to their course offerings. In the middle schools and high school, students and faculty are likewise focusing on STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math learning, all of which include environmental integration opportunities. I support these areas strongly. But we also need to be aware that we no longer live in an economic environment in which the school district has the resources to support every initiative. Inflation has averaged 1.8% over the last 5 years, which means district revenues have been capped at this rate, and we've managed this fiscal environment by making painful cuts to live within our means. So in addition to supporting curriculum integration of these learning opportunities, I also support environmental awareness through modeling and volunteerism.
Thank you, candidate. Candidate Bastido?
As a school board member, it would be my goal to understand and convey the community's values and priorities. The school board is the voice of the community, so to the extent that the Elmhurst community values raising our young people to be responsible citizens, environmentally and otherwise, it is appropriate that we adopt environmentally friendly initiatives. I support schools and parent groups that step forward and teach our children to be good stewards of the earth. I know many schools have eco-clubs, and in my son's school, I have seen eco-club ideas put into action. Recycling containers in the cafeteria, a big push encouraging all kids to walk to school on Wednesdays, and the recycling of school supplies at the end of the year. The school board and administrators can do their part by making this part of the district policy. For example, students learn about environmental sustainability initiatives as part of STEM Week in March, and it is or could be incorporated as part of environmental science into their STEM curriculum.
Thank you, candidates. The next question might be a little bit of a duplication, but it's still an important question. And we'll start with candidate Harrell. District 205 has taken some steps to reduce waste and energy usage in their facilities, with some of these efforts resulting in a cost savings as well. Is reducing District 205's overall environmental impact a priority? If yes, please share your ideas for further reducing the impact of district buildings and grounds. And we did hear some good ideas, so you can reiterate those again.
Thank you. Reducing the overall environment impact is a priority. The question is, how do we manage all of our priorities with fiscal responsibility to our communities? Thus far, the district has worked with the community to manage the light and noise pollution from the York Stadium. They have created an outdoor classroom at Hawthorne, Edison, and Emerson. And additionally, they have enhanced the Prairie and Diversity Garden at Churchville. Some of these activities have been funded by community groups as well as being funded by government grants. One idea, replacing aging, inefficient heating systems with energy-efficient ones, and being conscious on the amount and type of energy we use can have a positive effect on our environment. Now, we know there are hefty startup costs to those types of initiatives, so a very strong strategic plan on identifying when we could best purchase those, tying those in with government initiatives and/or utility grants would help balance that support process.
Thank you, candidate. Candidate Collins.
The district should do all it can to reduce its environmental impact within our very tight budget constraints. One area we can be most thoughtful with is making decisions around facilities, grounds, and vendors. For example, if a new Lincoln School were ever to be built, I would fully support building a LEED certified building. We should also explore ideas like a green roof on any new building, along with other state-of-the-art environmental technologies. The district also needs to look at its consumption of paper and at other recycling efforts. I'm not an environmental engineer, but I will listen to all ideas brought to the board that reduce environmental impact of the district's facilities. From a practical standpoint, and given our current fiscal realities, any initiative that involves capital expenditures also needs to have funding attached to them, or at least a plan to raise private money to fund these expenditures.
Thank you, candidate. Candidate Bastido.
I encourage our schools to continue taking simple steps to protect the environment and save our district money, while at the same time showing our children how to reduce their own environmental footprint. At the higher levels, the district should continue, under the leadership of the administration, to look at cost-saving, waste-reducing strategies. I would encourage the administration to keep the environmental impact in mind when making future purchasing decisions. The district can also investigate ways to reduce waste and conserve energy before making future repairs or additions to existing buildings. The school board can set an example by establishing policies that encourage environmental sustainability. While the school board may not have a lot of time to dedicate to green initiatives, there are numerous nonprofit organizations around the country that do just that.
Thank you, candidate. Candidate Brinkmeyer.
Thank you. There's lessons I've learned in working at Elmhurst College that can be translated to District 205. Margaret mentioned one of them, and that is to get heat-efficient boilers. We did that at the college. We've also done things like light-efficient bulbs, replacing out-of-date refrigeration units, motion-activated lights so that lights are controlled in that fashion. These are all things that I voted for as a college trustee in the last 10 or 15 years. Those opportunities have to exist within the district as well. As a city leader, I've also supported reducing carbon footprint. As recently as in the fall, we did the bike plan that was adopted and made part of our comprehensive plan. I sat right up here and we talked about that and we passed that forward to City Council. Bikes don't use fossil fuels. So anywhere we can encourage that kind of thing and teach our kids about it, that's excellent. We need also, though, to be very responsive to what our citizens say. Read my answer on the website.
Thank you, candidate. And now we get to move to the closing comments. It's hard to believe that the time has just flown by, so thank you so much for your patience and your attention. And we'll do the closing comments starting with candidate Collins, and we'll end with candidate Harrell. So up to 1 minute, please.
Again, thank you to the League for sponsoring today's forum. I'm proud to say in the past 4 years, 3 of our schools have won the U.S. Department of Education's Blue Ribbon Award, and we may have yet another on the way. We've won numerous other academic awards as well, and more importantly, student achievement has risen at every one of our schools every year for the past 4 years. That credit goes to our teachers, our students, our parents, and our community that is so supportive of education. In the next 4 years, I plan to continue the leadership I brought to the district. I will continue to work to improve the academic performance of our schools. I will remain vigilant in my efforts to make sure that every student is appropriately academically challenged. I will work to make sure Elmhurst resources are spent efficiently to deliver the best possible value to our taxpayers. And for the next 4 years, I will focus my enthusiasm, my energy, and my skills on transforming our schools into becoming some of the very best in the nation. If we're successful, everyone's property values will be higher, and our children's futures will be brighter.
Thank you, candidate Collins. Candidate Bastido.
If
elected, I am willing to dedicate the time it takes to be a great school board member. I strongly believe in the value and importance of great public schools. I am enthusiastic about tackling the tough issues facing the district, and in my professional life, I have worked well on teams doing just that. I am open-minded. I think it's important to hear the voice of the community before making tough decisions. I will use my school finance experience to help draft a long-term budgeting plan for the district. I will be a good steward of your tax dollars. And most importantly, I will work to make sure our district meets the educational needs of every single student. Thank you.
Thank you, Candidate Bastido. Candidate Brinkmeyer?
Thank you. Again, thanks to the League of Women Voters. I believe in the Elmhurst homeowner, I believe in Elmhurst parents, and I believe most importantly in our Elmhurst students. There are critical concerns that face us, and those concerns require our attention, our resolution, and we need a board that is comprised of members with a strong dedication, diverse thinking, and a dedication to our entire community. I have 3 planks on my platform: communication, community, and commitment. Those are the 3 themes that I will bring to every decision I make should you elect me to the school board. I seek your support. I want to thank all that have already offered me support. For the future of our schools, I think our Elmhurst schools are the biggest assets we've got. So I want to ask you all to get the word out. There's no better endorsement for me, of me, than someone that already knows me. So please vote for Alan Brinkmeyer, April 9th.
Thank you, Candidate Brinkmeyer. And Candidate Harrell?
We moved here 20 years ago before we had children because this was a good school district. And by it being a good school district, we knew that that would increase our property values. We have experienced it is an excellent school district, and that does not mean that it can't improve. I applaud all our school board members, current and past, because it is a difficult, challenging job. Just think, what can be more important? You've got your children and you've got your money. Those are very key, critical, passionate issues. How do we work together to make sure that we balance those? It's about economic efficiency and educational excellence. We have to have collaboration, we have to enhance trust and increase our communication. With that, I'll say I ask for your support and your vote on April 9th. Thank you.
Thank you, Candidate Harrell. And thanks so much to all of you. It's now appropriate at this time to give these ladies and gentlemen a round of applause.
We've now come to the end of our program, and of course, as you know, this is the commercial section of our program. First, before we do that, I want to thank everyone for their contributions to the success of this candidate forum. Lori Miller, thank you so much. Our moderator, our student volunteers, our League of Women Voters volunteers, and in particular, Sue Whitworth, who has worked so expertly to make this a success. Many of the candidates have said, visit my website. These are complex issues we've talked about. What I encourage you to do, however, is to visit the League of Women Voters website at lwvelmhurst.org, where you will find the candidates' responses in greater detail. It is our candidate guide, and we urge you to look at that because these are complex questions. What you're also going to find there is information about upcoming events. Included on March 14th at the Elmhurst Library will be a program on Salt Creek Greenway, and on March 19th, if you like candidate forums and want to know about the candidates for the COD, College of DuPage, please visit that. There will be a candidate forum held at the Glen Ellen Civic Center at 585 Duane Street. The last thing I want to do, though, on that website, what you will find is a membership application. And I encourage all of you to become a member of the League. We are incredibly gratified by all the folks here who've said, we want to thank the League, we want to thank the League. The biggest thank you you can give us is to become a member. One of the things, in addition to the candidate forum that we do, is hold mock elections in the schools. One of the most exciting things we did this fall was to go to York High School and hold mock elections and teach kids at that point how to become educated voters. If kids start voting early, they'll become lifetime voters. And we try to also register those kids who are eligible at that time. So if you are interested in civic issues, interested in educating the public, interested in voter registration, we urge you to join the League of Women Voters. While we call ourselves the League of Women Voters, we invite all men in our community to please join us. We are, I like to say, fiercely nonpartisan and just as fierce in our dedication to political and civic issues in this community. So we ask you to join us. Thank you for your attendance at today's forum.